Okay, guys, it's me, Troy Dellinger, and I'm going to be talking about a history of the Catholic Church. Um, I decided that for this month, for church history, I'm going to be starting out about talking about issues that were going on during the Reformation time period between the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church. I'm going to be talking about issues with both churches. This is from a completely non-biased standpoint. I'm only here to talk about what the Bible says according to this issue, and then I'm going to look at it from a completely unbiased standpoint. I'm not here to say that Protestants are the good guys and Catholics are the bad guys. I mean, I'm pretty much saying that they're both the bad guys. Um, so, but right now I'm going to start off with the Catholic Church. So, the Catholic Church had a corrupt history. They were a political power during the Middle Ages. Jesus said that his kingdom is not of this world. Okay, so you have an empire that is calling itself Christian. That is, they want money, they want power. If you don't go to their church, if you don't do their teachings and practices, you can essentially be executed. You can be burned to the stake. You know, um, you can be arrested, and really the Catholic Church was the law of the land in the Middle Ages during Europe. Okay, it was a powerhouse. Um, but this is not the humble church that is taught in the New Testament. This is not the Christian church, and we see a lot of corrupt teachings and practices found within the Catholic Church, and a lot of corruption within history. I hear so many complaints about unbelievers about the corruption of church history, especially within the Catholic Church. So it's giving Christianity a bad name. Okay, so you know if a church is going to be Christian, they have to practice the teachings of Jesus. And if it doesn't align to the teachings of Jesus, it's not a Christian church. And Jesus said, "By their fruits you shall know them." A good tree does not produce corrupt fruits. Okay, so if we can look at corrupt fruits, and if we see corrupt fruits, then we can say that this is not a Christian church. Okay, um, so obviously, a heresy taught by the Catholic Church was the indulgences. That if you paid money to the Catholic Church, that you would be able to get your dead relatives out of hell, or maybe out of purgatory or whatever. There's no such thing as purgatory. Okay, so let's get that straight right there. But they were teaching that you could pay people to basically go to heaven. You could pay the church to take people out of to get people into heaven, and that's a heresy, and it's wicked, and it's a false teaching. I mean, it's false doctrine. Okay, because that's wicked. You're teaching that you can get salvation by money. Just like what Peter said, you thought that the gift of God could be purchased with money, and that's a heresy. And this is what the Catholic Church was teaching. We also find a lot of executions and killings and people being burnt to the stake during the Catholic Church. When you taught something that was not biblical, and we know that the Christians, they were not violent. In the church, you never see Christians going around executing people that don't have the same beliefs as them. So you have the Crusades, you have all kinds of just horrible bloodshed with the Catholic Church. For people that were reading the Bible were executed, burned to the stake. And we got to keep in mind that during the Catholic era of the Middle Ages, that, reading the Bible was banned. It's because the Bible goes against the church, and they were trying to keep people away from the Bible to give the church more authority. Okay. Now, I have some material that I printed out from the library, and I would like to read that. And it basically just goes through like the history of the church. And I'm going to read some of the stuff that I printed from the website. Okay, so this is what this says. By the end of the Middle Ages, corruption's actions. I'm just going to skip that parentheses. In the Catholic Church was a serious problem. Clergymen members were supposed to be well educated, but many parish priests were illiterate and hardly knew how to perform ordinary religious services. Many priests and nuns, despite taking vows of chastity, no sexual relations, engaged in sexual relationships. Several popes, including Innocent and Alexander, fathered and raised children. Numerous bishops and abbots used their positions to lead lives of luxury and leisure, living more like princes than humble servants of God. Even the cardinals, high level, or just skip that, of Rome lived in magnificent palaces and supported jewels encrusted gold robes. The church developed several corrupt practices to pay for these extravagant lifestyles. Christian tradition taught that pilgrimage to sites of relics and holy places were acceptable ways of repenting for one's sins. During the Middle Ages, some clergy took advantage of this tradition and charged people who wanted to see holy relics, for instance, Frederick. The money collected from pilgrimages to these relics paid for the building of a cathedral, a castle, and a university in Frederick's kingdom. Simony, the practice of selling church positions to the highest bidder, regardless of the buyer's religious background or training, was another practice that earned money for the church. The most profitable and controversial of the corrupt practices used to raise money for the church was the selling of indulgences. At first, an indulgence consisted of a certificate issued by the Pope to a person whose sins had been forgiven. Their certificate was designed to cancel some or all of the punishment a person would suffer after death for his or her sins. And in time, however, a person seeking indulgences could buy what amounted to a form letter from any number of church officials. Other corrupt churchmen introduced the idea that indulgences could be purchased for family members who had already died and whose salvation might be in doubt. Though it was never officially stated by the church, many members of the clergy taught that salvation was attainable simply through the purchase of enough indulgences. Now I'm going to read some more. 1096, Roman Catholic Crusaders slaughter half the Jews in Worms, Germany. 1099, or 1098, Roman Catholic Crusaders slaughter almost all of the inhabitants of the city of Antioch. Roman Catholic Crusaders massacre 70,000 Muslims and Jews when they captured Jerusalem in 1099. Okay, now I'm not going to read all these dates. There's a whole bunch of them here, but I'm going to run down through some of these. Okay, so the Inquisition began in the 13th century, and it says in this paper that up to 50 million people were killed in the Inquisition. That's mind-boggling. That's almost hard to believe. This church is guilty of so much bloodshed and murder and killing, and they're going to be judged by God for it too. Okay, 1243, Roman Catholic mobs burn alive all the Jews in Berlitz, Germany. 1298, that was 1243. 1298, Roman Catholic mobs burn alive all the Jews in Rotingen, Germany. April 26, 1349, Roman Catholic mobs burn to death all Jews in Germersheim, Germany. Again, there are so many dates. 1389, the Roman Catholic mobs murder 3,000 Jews in Prague when they refused to be baptized. 1481 through 1483, at the direction of the Roman Catholic inquisitors, authorities burned at the stake at least 2,000 people during the first 2 years of the Spanish Inquisition. So it talks about 1540 verse to 1570, the Catholic Church killing Waldensians, which was a religious non-Catholic group. 1550 to 1560, Roman Catholic troops slaughter at least 250,000 Dutch Protestants via torture, hanging, and burning this 10-year period. Let's see what I got. Uh, 1572, French Roman Catholic soldiers began killing Protestants in Paris on the night of August 24, 1572. The soldiers kill at least 10,000 Protestants during the first 3 days. At least 8,000 more Protestants are killed as the slaughter spreads to the countryside. Let's see here. Okay, so it talked about 1641 through 1649. Jesuit instigated Roman Catholic butchery of Irish Protestants. 100,000 killed. 1685. The Catholic soldiers kill and slaughter 500,000 French Protestants. And I was actually surprised to see, that we still have killings going on in these more modern dates. I think of in the 20th century, that things are a little bit more civilized. And, people, it's a little bit more laid back, but they're actually still killing in the 20th century. Catholic, 1938 through 1945, Catholic dictators such as Adolf Hitler and Monsignor Tito slaughter approximately 6 million Jews in Europe. So obviously, Hitler was a Catholic. And here's something here. 1941 through 1945, the Roman Catholic Ustashi, in the fascist state of Croatia, butcher up to 1 million Serbian Orthodox. Roman Catholic killer squads are often led by Franciscan priests, monks, and friars. This genocide is choreographed by 2 Jesuit prelates, Aloysius Stepanek and Ivan Sarek. So, there is historical ties between, Catholicism and fascism. Now, obviously, the Protestants are not innocent either, and Lord willing, on my next video, I'll talk about Protestants. But, this is some pretty wicked stuff, guys. I didn't realize how much was actually on this paper. I didn't realize that it was in the millions of deaths, but, at least in the Inquisition alone, it goes up to the millions, and that was pretty surprising when I read that. I'm pretty shocked. These are from pretty credible sites, guys. I mean, this is not just mumbo jumbo stuff that I read online. I mean, these are educational forums that I took the time to print. And I went to the library. I printed out several pages. And I would encourage you to look into the research and origins of your church. Why would you want to go to a church that did this? I mean, you say, well, that was all in the past. Well, I mean, I know that it's in the past, but if you see the corruption that's in your church, why would you want to still be a part of it? I mean, even if they did it in the past, if I had a church like that, and they were in the past they were killing people, you know, I wouldn't want to be in that church. So you know, you got to really look at this stuff from an open perspective. You know, test the fruits, and if it doesn't align up to God's will, then you know it's not of God. All right, so that's all I got. Thank you for watching.